Hello, I'm Laura Furiosi, divorced mother of 3, and I'm here with my mother, Lynette Galvin, with 35 years' experience in family law. You're listening to the Divorce Course podcast. Through our candid discussions, we hope to help you through your divorce or de facto separation. We will be answering the most commonly asked questions and covering the stages and steps that you will face on your way to freedom. When you get separated, we think about property, we think about children, but sometimes we think about pets. And there isn't much out there to help people navigate what to do with your pets during separation. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about what the law says around pets and what you can do before separation, during and after, and how you can negotiate and sort out who's going to end up with your little puppy dog. Yeah. So thank you for coming back again, Mum. And I think this is actually a question that was sent from a US listener. So the person who is in the US, this isn't relevant to you, but this is an Australian law.
Yep.
But if you've got pets, and I guess it's not really mentioned that much.
No.
Is it, Mum? Is there a law?
No. It's not under the Family Law Act because pets are property. Isn't that sad? So court very rarely gets involved with who gets what pet. There might be if there's a value attached maybe, but there's this range of like dogs, cats, they're pets.
Mice, turtles.
Yes.
So that kind of animals are pets.
Yes. But then you get onto horses, and the court does allocate values to horses.
Okay, so you were saying the word livestock.
Livestock, yes.
So does that like goats, cows,
sheep,
horses, sheep? So I guess if you've got a horse who is a pet
or an alpaca,
then there is law attributed to that.
Yes, they're a possession. They're an asset. They just get valued.
So they're an asset,
just like.
But your dog's not an asset.
No, it's not. So I did. You talked about American law. I had years and years ago a case where my client lived in Canada, and she wanted half the dog. She wanted it half the time.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant cut in half.
We were dealing by facts. So her ex wanted half the value of the engagement ring, and she said, well, if he does that, I want half the dog. And I couldn't resist saying, well, which half do you want? Because the dog was in Australia and she was living in Canada. It was nonsense. So when you have, of course, you're attached to dogs, and as you know, Laura, I'm a massive
there's many fur mummies and daddies out there.
Yeah. And you'll hear our pets sometimes in the background.
Yeah.
Because they don't know their place.
No.
So my husband and I always joke and say we only stay together because of the dogs. But that's not true. But it's heartbreaking. I can't imagine. There might be a grain of truth in it. I can't imagine not having the dogs, particularly, and both of you can bond with them. And so it's hard. And some very enlightened people do work out arrangements.
Okay.
For little Rover.
Obviously amicable divorces.
Yes. Or even through gritted teeth.
Yeah.
But yes, so some people do, but the courts, you can't go to court and ask for the order for that.
So the judge won't make an order on custody of a pet?
No, the only thing, because custody applies to children, but possession, if the dog or cat was particularly valuable, then it would be the registration papers.
So when you say particularly valuable, like some dogs can be $10,000. So how valuable does it?
But they're second hand, aren't they?
Oh, my God.
Just go on Facebook. No.
Don't.
No, but some dogs are breeders or pedigree or show dogs who have the capacity to earn money. So that is the only time I've ever done one. And the court made the order that the other person do all acts and things and sign the documents to transfer the ownership and the registration of the dog to my client.
So if you've got a show cat or a show dog or a show parrot or a show bird.
But don't be going to the court if that's all you've got left to fight over, because you'll get pretty short shrift. And so will the lawyer who brought the application, because these judges are dealing with big stuff.
Yeah.
And pets,
human issues.
Or pets are just in the overall scheme of things.
In the eyes of the court.
Are just another thing.
Which is horrible.
To the court, it's like going to court to argue over a lounge suite.
But some people love their animals like humans.
I know we do.
I know, Mother. I literally feel like I compete with your dogs for motherly love.
It's no competition.
I'm very aware of that. I know. So there's no law. So if your ex says, screw you, I'm taking the dog...
Oh.
So one thing that you really want to know is what you should do before separation.
Yes.
If you're fully attached to your pet, just take it?
I think so. You can give it back later if you want to, but,
Yeah.
you know, particularly if it's not particularly registered with any one person.
What if it is registered with one person?
And
that would have just
usually
happened
with
by
you.
accident.
Yes, well, I mean, to be honest, they can't go to court either and demand it back, really,
Okay.
can they? Look, I think that we're being a little bit flippant about it, but it is important to people.
Yeah.
And the
their
biggest
whole
worry
lives.
for me, like, you know, we've got dogs. I've got 2 dogs. One of them is definitely more bonded to my husband, and I'm the only one who control the other idiot. So, you know, I'm going to end up with the bad one if we ever
naughty
split
one.
up.
Yeah.
So you'll know in your heart as you leave who the dog's
really
going to be
should-
happiest
yeah.
with and who really should have it. Never, ever leave a dog with someone who's committed domestic violence, because the number of times I've heard of animals being killed or turned in or assaulted. One I had where the husband didn't want the animals and just abandoned one of them in a forest. Luckily, someone else found it. But so you need to make sure the dogs are going to be safe.
Now, in that DV situation, sometimes people have to flee the house and they can't take a dog with them and say, hey, can I sleep on your couch? And I'm also bringing my giant 10-foot poodle.
That's the thing.
So there are some places, the RSPCA and DV
Connect
has a pets support group where they
Yes.
can look after them for a bit.
Even guinea pigs.
Yeah, even guinea pigs. But just make sure that, you know,
When you get your new place,
Yes.
you're allowed to take your dog or your cat or your
Yeah.
guinea pigs, because
Yeah.
it's not forever, is it?
No.
Otherwise, you may have to rehome them
yes.
if
And
it's not safe.
I think one thing that's really important is if you have a pet and you're in love with the pet and it's part of your family, and then your ex-partner is also, you know, it's a passionate item. It's a deal breaker item in mediation. Have you ever seen mediations go awry because of the animal?
No, I've seen it settle because of the animal.
Oh, why? How?
Well, if you do this, I'll let the dog live mostly with you.
Okay.
And
All
they
right.
do make arrangements. Like dogs and cats, pets are specifically mentioned in the domestic violence legislation, at least in Queensland, as assault or harming of your pet or animal or threatening to is domestic violence.
Right.
And so in that jurisdiction, people are aware of the animal's safety. But if it's just how much you love them and how much, you know, then it's
They're
not.
classed as furniture.
They are.
And a judge won't rule on furniture unless it's very valuable. So same thing for the
Even
pets.
then. And you know, with the new rules and the central practice direction of the whole court is for the efficient disposal of cases, you're likely to get a cost order against you, or your solicitor is likely to get a cost order for bringing such a...
And a cost order means you have to pay
the other side's
fees.
legal fees.
Okay,
for
so
such a petty item.
try not to bring... What about if it's like a support dog or a disability
That's
dog?
completely different.
Okay.
And they go with the person who they are supporting,
Obviously.
or who has the disability.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because the pet is an asset, does that value of the pet, sounds terrible, get included in the asset pool?
If it's like earning money from a show, if
Yeah.
you could sell it for money,
Right.
for a lot of money,
Yes.
I would say usually only a brand new puppy or a pregnant animal.
Okay.
Because, you know, my poodles are nearly 8 and they're second hand now.
And they're very
no one-
naughty. No one would want them.
but the problem is, so they're not.
Yeah, no.
That's and we all know, sadly, what short little lives they have.
Yeah. So what about with horses, cows, goats, livestock?
Horses
How's
get
that?
valued.
So they get valued by
they
a
get
valuer,
valued.
like
Yeah.
they would value a house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're livestock, you know, and they're sort of 3 head of horses and 15 head of cattle and 4 alpacas
So
all get valued.
if
as
you
stock.
had a horse as a pet or a goat as a pet or as an
Yeah.
alpaca as a pet, could you sneak it into the court as livestock?
You could.
Yeah, okay.
And can I say, goats and horses, generally there's not a fight over them. It's
don't
pretty
know.
clear, one parent, one owner.
One of my friends just bought a goat. Literally just bought a family goat.
But I don't think everyone else in the family is as happy about that as she
true.
is.
You never know. That's true.
So upon separation, they go, it's your bloody goat. You bought it. You take it.
Yeah. Okay. So in that regard, so in mediation, you can negotiate who ends up with the animal.
Yes.
And you did say, Mum, you could get an order by consent.
Yes. You can have
about
an order
animals.
by consent. Yes.
Yes.
It's just like...
You just can't get a court to rule on
so
it.
to me, it's just like sharing a timeshare. If you've got a timeshare and someone ends up with it, but you agree that the other person can use it every second year.
Okay.
And the same with the dog. You know, the dog will be at my place 1 week. The court's not going to refuse to make an order.
Have you seen that work for anyone?
I assume so, because they don't come back.
So you have seen lots of people come with agreements for their animals?
Not lots over my career, probably about 10 or 15.
And it's in their consent orders?
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. If you are a mummy fur baby with fur babies or a daddy with fur babies, you know that you can include it in your consent orders.
Or your financial agreement.
Okay. What would you recommend to someone, say that they had a high conflict partner and they were the ones that loved the animal, not the high conflict partner, and they were about to separate? Would you just recommend just taking the puppy?
Yeah, take it, or put it at your mother's or your friends, and make sure the very first house you get to live in will allow you to have the pet.
Yes. Okay. What about during separation? You can ask for it.
Yeah.
And they can say no, I guess. Can you just go over and take it, or is that stealing?
Whose name's it registered in is probably the determinative factor there.
So the police can't come and arrest you.
They might through invasion of privacy.
This is general advice only. Don't go and steal a dog. Don't go and steal a dog.
Sort it out before you go.
Yeah, okay. So definitely sort it out before you go. And in the DV situation, 100%
get it out
alert
safely.
Authorities or get it out safely.
If you can't take the dog or cat with you and it needs to be protected, let the authorities know, let the RSPCA know, you know.
So I guess when you are getting separated, on top of all the emotional drama that you've got to deal with, you also have to deal with pets.
Well, they do, you know, and people don't just have one pet, and they're usually the kid's pet. So that's a determinative factor usually.
But not by the court?
No, not by the court. But if you've got children, what sort of a creep would you be to not let the kids have their animal?
Yeah.
But, you know, so often you can have a pet in a family home, of course, but if you move into a flat or a townhouse, that can become problematic. So sometimes those issues kind of resolve themselves.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that is an answer to your question about pets. If you have one and you're worried or you're not sure what the rules are, there are no rules.
That's right.
Unless they are livestock. So
just go with whose name they're registered in.
Yeah, and if you're about to leave and it's registered in your name or not, take it with you.
Take it with you anyway.
Yeah.
We'll work it out later.
Thank you, Mum.
Okay.
There's not much legislation to talk about here, so we'll
but I need to defend my poodles, I think, from your slurs.
All right. One more question with pets. Say you are sharing time with the pets. And maybe the pet needs to be taken to the vet or any of those kind of things, and a decision needs to be made. What happens then? Sharing costs of that. If it's not amicable, can you go after them for costs?
I don't think so.
No.
Not under... I mean, if you take the animal, you take it as a complete thing, and you've got a statutory obligation to do the right thing by the animal and get it medical treatment.
Yes.
So, no.
So, and if you're in a consent order agreement to share the animal, maybe make sure you put in there that you share the fees.
Yeah. You can definitely put that in a financial agreement.
Okay.
I don't think you could enforce it much, but the fees are a dollar figure, so that could be something you could enforce.
Okay.
But yes, I mean, it's very fraught. It's very worrying.
Sounds like the Wild Wild West.
Well, it is.
How many people have pets?
Well,
so many people have pets.
Sorry, it's like getting a toaster. It's like
it is not a toaster.
But to the court it is.
I know. You know. Yeah. Mum is a dog lover. She doesn't think dogs are toasters, but
you know, if you have two
dogs, it boggles
dogs,
my mind Because they're
It's not
living
the court's job.
creatures.
They are.
I'm going to lobby for them to put in something.
Put it in the Family Law Act. They'll love that.
Thank you, Mum. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Send through your questions and we're happy to answer them. And this is Australian rules only.
Australian rules only, and don't forget our webinar at the end of the month.
Oh, yes, definitely. Sign up for our webinar.
DIY divorce.
DIY divorce. How to do it and the pitfalls to avoid. Just click on the links in our bios on all our social media and you can register a seat.
It'd be lovely.
See you
Lovely to
there.
see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. If you found this podcast helpful, we'd love it if you could rate, review and subscribe. By doing so, you are spreading the word to help someone else just like you. Lynn would like to remind you that this podcast is general advice only and you should always get legal advice in relation to your particular situation. And remember that the Australian laws may have changed since recording.